AAA gaming is totally dead in my opinion because it just seems like all these major game companies now are just gambling. Like Concord was a massive $300 million gamble for something that pretty much had no logic behind the decision at all. Like Concord was just so ugly and it just looked and seemed like it was trying to be bootleg Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, yeah, they deserve losing $300 million on Concord because why would you bet $300 million on an unknown IP that is whole identity to be a bootleg version of Guardians of the Galaxy and probably the gameplay ripped straight out of like Call of Duty? I would argue that most gamers nowadays want more stylized games because so many people are just tired of the AAA ugly graphics. And like another thing I want to say is I feel like Halo Campaign Evolved actually looked pretty ugly in terms of animations to me. The one scene where Master Chief was crashing onto the ring in the original campaign remake, it just seemed kind of fan-made to me. And like the cutscenes all just seem to use like the same reflection for Master Chief's visor, so it doesn't really seem like it's actually reflecting the environment well. And last thing about Halo, because I talk about Halo way too much on this channel, is that the Halo 2 anniversary cutscenes were leagues better than whatever we got in Halo Campaign Evolved. Like, it looks like real life. Like, the animations are that good, all the textures are that good, like, that should be the standard going forward. But basically what I'm trying to say is it looks like Halo Campaign Evolved is done by fans who don't know what they're doing, you know, there's like the first attempt at making a game. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is it's easy to point to Concord and Halo Campaign Evolved and said, look how it flopped. But it just seems like every single corporation is doing the exact same thing. And like, you could have seen this coming. Xbox announced that they're putting $400 million into the latest Gears of War, meaning at minimum, the game would have to sell 6 or 8 million copies just to be able to make their money back on this game. Like, these budgets are just getting so absurd. Like, it's got to be money laundering at this point. Allegedly. Like, the answer to good video games is not bigger and bigger budgets. Like, Concord should have realized way early on in development that the characters were not good enough and just looked like bootleg Guardians of the Galaxy. It was ugly. Like, the game at launch should have been $20 or free to play. And it's not just the gaming industry doing this. Disney put $300 million into Moana live action, which flopped insanely hard. I don't know about you, but I feel like Moana was kind of like a one-hit wonder. Like, I never really cared to watch it a second time, you know? And I feel like a live action Moana would actually be easier to make than a animated film, especially since like the entire story part of it is kind of done. Like, you're not even spending any money on the story really. Like, they could be spending $300 million a lot more wisely. Like, first off, don't even cast Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson unless you're required to, because, you know, I don't really picture Maui as a 50-year-old old man. Literally, everyone was saying that Jason Momoa is a much better casting for this, and I gotta agree, he looks a lot more like Maui than Johnson does. And it would be a lot cheaper. These mistakes should never be happening when you're putting $300 million on the line with anything. Nintendo actually knows what they're doing. They are approving these budgets for their games and they're actually making a good return on investment. Super Mario Odyssey had a budget of about $100 million, not $300 million, because Nintendo understands the less money they put into their budget of some of their flagship titles, the more money they will ultimately make. It's like Nintendo knows if they put $100 million into one of their video games that their staff that they've fostered over years are just going to take such good care of that budget and actually make the game worth playing. The issue with Xbox and Sony is they just fire everyone who knows what they're doing, and they just keep approving these bigger and bigger budgets to lackluster game devs. I don't agree with Nintendo giving Pokemon such little budgets, but like Pokemon Legends EA had about a $13 million budget from what I'm seeing, and apparently it sold over 12 million copies. I didn't even know it did that well because I haven't indulged in Pokemon since Omega Ruby because I kind of stopped caring after like Omega Ruby. But 12 million copies on a $13 million budget, that's a ROI of about 6,500%. Potentially about $861 million. Now obviously with sales it probably didn't make exactly 861 million. But even if it's just half of 861 millions, that's still an absolutely insane number on a $13 million budget investment. Nintendo is a very smart company, a very scummy company, spending more on the lawsuit with Palworld over putting that money into better Pokemon games. But a smart decision is a smart decision. You guys can quote me on this in the future, but it's my opinion that Xbox is never going to see that $400 million budget they are putting on Gears of War E-Day again. Xbox, you can't even sell your own Xboxes at Costco anymore because no one wants them. Why are you spending even more money on your games now? If I was an Xbox higher up, I would look at the current gaming industry and see what is doing well. I would try to make a cheaper game with shifting consumer demands with lower development costs. Because Mecha Chameleon mainly reused assets and took a total of 2 months to make with only 2 people. The development cost was basically free, and if I was Xbox, I would see the success of Mecha Chameleon as a clear signal in development. Smaller scoped games with fun gimmicks with cheaper budgets for a higher return on investment. The casual gamer is one of the largest ever. The hardcore gamer that enjoys Gears of War E-Day exists, but why rely on a demographic that costs so much more than the casual gamer? A casual gamer is not going to care about how detailed a rock is in a AAA game. They're going to care about how much fun they actually have with their friends per dollar spent. And Sony is not exempt from this either. From what I gather from Sony is that the overall vibe is that they make the best games, but they don't actually want to do it for how much money they are bringing in on these games. Like, I remember reading this one article, which I can no longer find, so take my words here as a grain of salt. Basically, a Sony exec said they finally figured out how to break the $60 game expectation so players would spend $120 for the exact same game. Basically saying something along the lines of give them enough content to where they're satisfied spending $60 on the game, and then for the rest of the game, charge another $60. Like, are we talking about a sequel? Because if I'm playing and then you start gatekeeping the other half of the game from me that is already done, you just want to charge another $60 because you can't figure out how to budget your game properly, I'm going to just return the game. I don't remember what the article was titled, so I can't find it, but I know it was specifically talking about like a Spider-Man game. And if anyone can get me a search term for this, I'd probably pin your comment because that would be very appreciated. And if it doesn't exist, maybe I was just Mandela affected. But back to my main point, none of these companies actually want to spend $300 million per project, but they do anyway, because I'm not saying this is happening, but money laundering allegedly. Because it really feels like with all these game releases, even though they have a $300 million budget, it really doesn't feel like there's a $300 million budget. Like Pokemon Legends EA had like 1/10 the budget, like literally 10% the budget Concord had, and Pokemon Legends EA is reportedly a great game. I'm not saying Pokemon Legends EA is an amazing game, but I'm saying like it's very clearly better than Concord at a fraction of the budget. Because Pokemon Legends EA got approved based on what they think the consumers would want. Another thing is that like all these corporations are just so entitled nowadays. Like they put $300 million into a project, and now it's our job to help us make their money back. Like, it is not my wallet's job to bail your company out of a poor financial decision. Nintendo has never really made us feel bad for not buying their stuff because they themselves don't care if something flops because they barely spent any money on it. Like, all of these major corporations are just wanting us to pay full price for content we have already paid for once. Halo Campaign Evolved, you know, the campaign that was already remastered once before. Yes, please give us $50 for that. And I must say it, Halo Campaign looks worse than Halo 2 Anniversary. Despite being made in the Unreal Engine, they seem like they're going backwards in terms of quality. But please give us your money. We know you have already experienced this content once or twice before, but we need $50 for it. I would have picked up Halo Campaign Evolved if it was $20. But I'm not spending $50 on something I've already experienced twice before. Nintendo is greedy, yes, but not as greedy as the other companies because they don't have to be. If no one buys their games, oh well, they only invested $13 million into it, not 1/3 of $1 billion. And this is exactly why Nintendo has never died in gaming.